Hello heroes of Lithas. Welcome back to the channel of prettiness. Today, I will be summoning for the choir discordant clan. I'm not sure yet if the female or the male is better, but after I get both of the champions, I can test them later to figure it out. So, while we summon for these Necromancer champions, I would like to tell you all an interesting story about a guy whose name is Zephyr, who may or may not be a Necromancer. By the way, just letting you know beforehand, that it will be in whisper mode.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. I'm tired of shit.
Zephyr had always been a talented musician. Ever since he was a child, he had shown an innate ability to play any instrument he picked up, but it was the ukulele that truly spoke to him. He loved the simple, sweet sound of the instrument and the way it could convey a wide range of emotions. As he grew older, he began to experiment with his music, trying out different styles and techniques. But Zephyr also had another passion, the dark arts. He was fascinated by the idea of raising the dead and controlling them with his will. He spent years studying the ancient tomes of necromancy, honing his skills and perfecting his craft. And then, one day, he discovered that he could combine his two passions, music and necromancy. Zephyr began to experiment with his ukulele, playing different notes and chords to see what effect they would have on the undead. He discovered that certain combinations of notes could summon the dead from their graves and that others could make them do his bidding. With his music, Zephyr became the most powerful necromancer in the land. One day, Zephyr received a message from a wealthy lord who wanted to hire him to raise an army of undead soldiers to defend his castle from an invading army. Zephyr agreed to the job and set out on his journey with his trusty ukulele by his side. As he traveled through the forest, he encountered a group of bandits who demanded that he hand over all of his belongings. Zephyr calmly pulled out his ukulele and began to play a haunting melody. The bandits were mesmerized by the music and stood frozen in place as Zephyr walked past them without a second glance. When Zephyr finally arrived at the Lord's castle, he was greeted by a group of soldiers who escorted him inside. The Lord explained the situation to Zephyr and promised to pay him handsomely if he could raise an army of undead soldiers to defend the castle. Zephyr agreed to the task and began to play his ukulele. The notes of the instrument echoed through the halls of the castle, and soon the ground began to tremble as the undead rose from their graves. Zephyr commanded the army of undead soldiers with his music, and they marched out to face the invading army. The battle was fierce, but the undead soldiers fought with a fierce determination that could only come from being raised from the dead. Zephyr stood on the front lines, playing his ukulele and directing the soldiers to attack. The invading army was caught off guard by the sudden appearance of the undead soldiers, and they were quickly defeated. As the battle ended, Zephyr found himself surrounded by the Lord and his soldiers. They had witnessed the incredible power of his music, and they were afraid of what he could do with it. But Zephyr simply smiled and began to play his ukulele once more. The soldiers felt their fear melt away as they were entranced by the beautiful music. The Lord was amazed by what he had seen, and he offered Zephyr even more money to stay and defend the castle against future attacks. Zephyr agreed and spent the next few weeks practicing his music and perfecting his control over the undead soldiers. But as time went on, Zephyr began to feel a sense of emptiness in his life. He had everything he could ever want, money, power, and the respect of those around him, but he still felt like there was something missing. One day, as he sat alone in his chambers, he picked up his ukulele and began to play a sad, mournful tune. As he played, he felt a strange sensation wash over him. It was as if the music was opening up a portal to another world, a world where the dead could communicate with the living. He kept playing, lost in the beauty of the music. Suddenly, he heard a voice. It was a whisper, barely audible, but it was there. He stopped playing and listened, but he couldn't hear anything else. He tried playing again, and the voice returned, stronger this time. "Who are you?" Zephyr asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I am one of the dead," the voice replied. "I have been summoned by your music." Zephyr was stunned. He had always known that his music had the power to summon the dead, but he had never expected them to be able to communicate with him. He felt a sense of fear and excitement at the same time. "What do you want?" he asked the voice. "I want to be free," the voice replied. "I want to leave this world and move on to the next, but I cannot do so until my body is properly laid to rest." Zephyr listened to the voice and felt a sense of compassion for the dead. He knew what it was like to feel trapped and alone, and he couldn't bear the thought of leaving this soul to suffer. "I will help you," he said, "but I need your help as well. I need to know how to control the undead soldiers I have raised." The voice was silent for a moment, and Zephyr feared that he had angered it. But then it spoke again. "I will help you," it said, "but you must promise me one thing. Promise me that you will use your power for good, not for evil. Promise me that you will use your music to help those in need, not to harm them." Zephyr thought about the voice's request for a moment. He had always been tempted by the power he possessed, and he knew that it would be easy to let it consume him. But he also knew that he had a responsibility to use his power for good. "I promise," he said. "I will use my power to help others, not to harm them." The voice was silent for a moment, and then it spoke again. "Very well," it said. "I will teach you how to control the undead soldiers, but you must be careful. The power you possess is great, but it is also dangerous. Use it wisely, or you may find yourself facing a fate worse than death." Zephyr nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. He spent the next several hours listening to the voice, learning how to control the undead soldiers he had raised. He felt a sense of awe at the power he possessed, but he also felt a sense of responsibility to use it wisely. From that day forward, Zephyr dedicated his life to helping others. He used his music to heal the sick and wounded, to protect the innocent, and to fight against evil. He became known as a hero, a man who could summon the dead with his ukulele and use them to protect the living. Years passed, and Zephyr grew old. He knew that his time was coming to an end, but he was not afraid. He had lived a full life, one filled with adventure and excitement. As he lay on his deathbed, he picked up his ukulele one last time and began to play. The notes of the instrument echoed through the room, filling the air with a sense of peace and tranquility. And then, as he played, he felt a sense of release. It was as if the music was carrying him away, lifting him up and carrying him to another world. And then, with a final note, Zephyr's ukulele fell silent. He took his last breath, and his body lay still. But as he passed from this world to the next, he knew that his legacy would live on. In the days that followed, the people of the village came to pay their respects to Zephyr. They spoke of his bravery and his kindness, of the many times he had used his power to protect them from harm. And as they gathered around his grave, they could feel the power of his music still echoing in the air. But little did they know that Zephyr's story was far from over. For as he passed into the world of the dead, he found himself face to face with the voice that had taught him how to control the undead soldiers so many years ago. "You have lived a good life," the voice said, "but your work is not yet done." "What do you mean?" Zephyr asked, confused. "The world is still in need of heroes," the voice replied, "and you have the power to help them." Zephyr was silent for a moment, considering the voice's words. He knew that he had passed on from this world, but he also knew that his power still existed. "What would you have me do?" he asked. "You must continue to use your power to help others," the voice replied. "But now you must do so from the world of the dead. Your music can still reach the living, and your power can still protect them." Zephyr nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. He had been given a second chance, a chance to continue his work even after death, and he knew that he would not waste it. And so, Zephyr began to play his ukulele once more. His music echoed through the world of the dead, reaching the living and protecting them from harm. He became known as a guardian angel, a spirit who used his power to protect the innocent and to fight against evil. Years passed, and Zephyr's legend grew. He was no longer just a hero of the living, but a hero of the dead as well. His music could be heard all across the world, and his power continued to protect those who needed it most. And even now, long after his passing, Zephyr's legacy lives on. His music still echoes through the world, a reminder of the power of kindness and compassion. And those who hear it know that they are not alone, that there's a hero watching over them even from beyond the grave.
Wow, that summoning ending was epic. I was lucky there indeed. It literally came down to my last summoning stone. I mean, wow, that really was something. Not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of my summoning luck today. I may have gotten some mythical champions like the Parades and Nase, but overall, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would rank it as a terrible summon. Anyways, I hope you liked today's summoning as well as the story. You can comment below if you have any tips of improvements I can make to these types of videos. Thank you all for watching, and do feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I wish you all a blessed week and a wonderful day. Take care, stay foxy, adios, bye!